And then 2011 is really when we formed our nonprofit 2 years later to educate the community about the need and the importance of organ donation.
That was Lori Malkin, founder of JJ's Legacy. Jeffrey John slipped quietly into heaven in the early morning hours on Sunday, March 1st, 2009. Jeff died in the trauma center at Kern Medical Center from injuries suffered in a tragic accident a few hours earlier. He was surrounded by family and friends who had come to say their final goodbyes to a vibrant young man who was deeply loved and whom will forever be in the thoughts and prayers of the family. After Jeffrey's passing, the family was presented with the opportunity to donate his organs and tissues. Though the family had never talked about donation in the past, it felt like the right thing to do. Jeffrey was a giving person, and if he knew that he could save someone else's life, he would have done it in a heartbeat. Jeffrey saved the lives of 5 people in need of organ transplants and healed 50 others through tissue donation. His young and strong heart will continue to beat in the chest of a fortunate person who will hopefully see sunrises and sunsets for many years to come. Forever, his boyish and infectious smile will be a cherished memory. In memory of Jeffrey's gift of life, friends have joined Lori to organize a golf tournament to inspire the community to donate life through organ, eye, and tissue donation. Proceeds from the event will help donor families like hers, as well as recipients throughout the Kern County area.
Welcome back to the Our 2 Cents podcast, the show where your local professionals sit down with an array of guests to hear their story and impart some wisdom for both business and life-improving skills. This is your place to hear business and community leaders discuss relevant topics that matter to you.
And welcome back to the Our 2 Cents podcast. My name is Kyle Jones. I'll be your host for today. And we are doing another one of our special segments. We are going to be interviewing the founder of JJ's Legacy here in the studio. Followed up with that, we're going to be at the Gala event at Stockdale Country Club interviewing some of the guests and sponsors. And we're going to package it up as a nice one-episode program that should be released in about a week. So today we have Lori Malkin, founder of JJ's Legacy, with us in studio. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is great.
My pleasure, yes. Before we get started with the interview, I do want to encourage our listeners to check out our most recently released episodes. Also, you can find us on the social medias and on our webpage where you can interact with us and give guest ideas or feedback to make this show a better experience for our community. With that being said, tell us a little bit about what started JJ's Legacy and what created the foundation.
Well, JJ's Legacy was started in 2009 was when my son had his accident, and he was actually killed in an automobile accident. And with that happening, he was at Kern Medical Center, and then he was brain dead. So being brain dead, you can be an organ donor, organ, eye, and tissue donor. So after we went through the process of hours of him, progressing towards death and being brain dead, we were presented with the fact that he could be an organ donor. And of course, we would say yes immediately, but then he wasn't registered. He didn't have that pink dot on his driver's license. And at age 27, we don't know why he didn't, but because we did as a family. But anyway, so his dad and I made the decision and said yes, that he could be an organ donor. So, and then 2011 is really when we formed our nonprofit 2 years later to educate the community about the need and the importance of organ donation. There's over 350 people in Kern County waiting just for that life-saving transplant. And so it really became my passion to educate the community. And then we started a high school program to work with the first-time drivers when they go to the DMV, because it's mandatory to say yes or no, not at this time. So how can a high school person that's 16 years old, these students, be able to make that decision without being educated? So we have a big, huge high school program, and then our financial grants that we give to those that have had a transplant just to help everybody through their journey. So that's what we do.
That is such a hard conversation to have, especially with young people. How do you make it to, because I can think back to when I was in high school or years after that, you kind of think you're invincible at that point, right? That's, you don't think about
absolutely
dying, you don't think about estate planning, right?
Yeah.
Those things just don't come across your mind. So how do you kind of make it to where it brings it to the kind of front of mind thinking for them?
Well, I think the first thing we talk about is the myths and the misconceptions of what organ donation is. The misconceptions is people think, oh, if I'm a registered donor and I have a heart attack, or if I am sick, or if I'm in the hospital, anything happens, that they're not going to try to save my life. They're going to let me die to save somebody else's. So that's the biggest thing we educate on. That is not true at all. There are so many different protocols that the hospital would have to go through if you were in the trauma center. But the biggest thing about it all is that you are brain dead before you can even be considered. So if you had a heart attack or something, or if you whatever you might have passed away from, there's certain protocol that you have to go through. So we educate the students on that, about the facts and the misconceptions, and try to give them the best knowledge that we can. And then it's your choice. You can say yes or you can say no. But at least when you go to the DMV to answer that question on your application, you'll at least know about it.
You're at least informed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have experience with that when doing estate planning myself with clients. Part of the Advanced Healthcare Directive, we talk about organ donation, and I've heard that come up. I wouldn't say a lot, but a fair amount, where they say, I'm kind of nervous about that if I select yes, and someone younger is in need of a transplant, but I'm older. Are they gonna do everything they can to save my life? And so I try to reassure them that it's not how it works.
Absolutely.
But people have those thoughts, and it's a weird and kind of touchy subject to talk about, but people do think that.
We go into the classrooms a week at a time, so it's not just a one and done. We're there for 5 to 6 hours a week, really thoroughly educating them. And then the students in our Got the Dot Leadership Club, they will create videos to go peer-to-peer to be an advocate for JJ's legacy and organ donation, to be able to share with their families and their loved ones that this is what this means. And sometimes they don't, believe in it, but at least we've given them the knowledge.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not trying to talk people into it.
No.
Right. Yeah.
No.
It's a personal choice.
Personal choice, yeah. But the thing is that we do get their parents' consent. So when they go home, they talk to their family and they say, this is what I'm going to be doing. And if the family says, we don't want you to, then they don't participate. We usually get most of them that say yes.
Okay.
Because they want to know. They're curious too.
Even old adults or older people that may have misconceptions or don't have the information. And so are there various arms of the foundation of JJ's Legacy? Is it grant writing? Is it education resources, donations to families? What are the kind of the...
Well, we have 3 major programs.
Okay.
So in our fundraising efforts, what the community supports us 100%, we give financial assistance, medical financial assistance to those that are either waiting for a transplant or they've had a transplant to help them through their journey. It's a lot of them, they're in need. They've lost maybe their job or their cars or their houses, or, it's a very expensive when you become ill. And then they can't work and they can't provide for their family. So we help them with that for our financial grants. We also have a transportation program to help them get to their transplant hospitals for all of their appointments, which is in the Los Angeles area. And then there's one up north in San Francisco. And that's very expensive for them to be able to travel back and forth and to pay for parking. And then we also have a fresh food program that we feed our recipients every month with fresh food that's grown locally here in Kern County.
Interesting.
When they are ill and they're waiting for their transplant, they need to have healthy choices. And when they've had a transplant, they still need healthy choices.
When you are a recipient of an organ and you have had a transplant, you're on medications the rest of your life, correct? And
correct.
Those are, I can't think what they're called, but
there's a lot of different medicines that they'll start off on, and then they can wean themselves off, or sometimes they're on it forever. But one of the biggest one is the anti-rejection drug.
That's what I'm thinking of. And that's one that you're kind of probably stuck with the rest of your life, is that?
No, they're doing a lot of research right now with the kidney transplants, where they can maybe do something with stem cells so they can avoid those antidepressant type of your medication, so you will not reject it, or if you to help give you more of those antibodies.
Why I was thinking about that is because why I think that the fresh choices of food is so important to get someone's immune system or health and as optimal as possible if you're fighting this process.
And that's one thing I learned. I didn't have any idea that when you're on dialysis or you've had a kidney transplant, you have so many restrictions.
Dietary restrictions.
Dietary restrictions. Yeah, thank you. Dietary restrictions. Yeah.
And I imagine going to McDonald's or eating fast food or stuff like that is probably not on that list of approved.
Probably not.
So the local fresh grown food comes in handy for those people.
It does.
That's great. Yeah. And as far as your fundraising is concerned, I know you said you're 100% supported by the community. What other events other than the one we're here to talk about today, which is the golf tournament, does JJ's Legacy do for fundraising? Well,
we have our big gala and golf tournament, which is coming up at Stockdale Country Club. And then we also have a fall fundraiser, and we call it the Grillin' and Brewin', which is a barbecue. And we have 3 local barbecue teams that are competition-style barbecue, and they come in and they cook our dinner: ribs, brisket, chicken, beans, just a good old barbecue. And then we have the dueling pianos, which is part of our entertainment.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is a fun, and it's fun. We have it at the Iron Lily, and it's really a fun night.
And have you had 2 events for the last 14 years or however long you've...
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we have. Well, the Gala and Golf started out as memorial golf tournament after Jeff passed 1 year. for family and friends. And then the next year we did it. The community was so supportive, and we just saw the need that our community needed to have that education and that support, and especially those that are waiting. We help them through their journey however they need. If they need support financially, they need support emotionally. They need just a resource, then we're there to help them. And we work a lot with all the dialysis centers here in Bakersfield.
Yeah, I mean, the financial assistance, the emotional support, all that's great. But as a resource, I can imagine that would just be, because when people are in these situations, or I can imagine if you get diagnosed with cancer, it's like, well, where do I go? Who do I talk to? And so having something like this here locally is, I can see that as being a tremendous benefit.
It is. And we partner a lot with the One Legacy, which is the organ procurement operation here in Kern County. They're the ones that recover the organs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they get transplanted at a transplant hospital in the Los Angeles area or like up north.
Okay. So this will be the 11th or 12th?
This is our 13th year.
13th year for the golf tournament.
Yeah.
And has it always been a golf tournament followed by a gala?
It's always been a gala followed by the golf tournament.
Oh, that's right. Because I'm thinking Saturday and then Monday.
Yeah. But this year we're lucky to get the Friday golf tournament and then Saturday gala.
Great.
And it's going to be beautiful weather.
I've seen, yes. So the golf tournaments at Stockton, I'm sure the teams are already sold out at this point, correct?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And what about the gala? Is that also sold out as well?
We still have a few tables left.
Okay.
Because Stockdale has such a large grass area, because it's going to be outside underneath the stars, so we're not as limited. More tables.
Yeah, we just got our Wi-Fi upgraded out there too. So we have the Wi-Fi extending now out to the South Lawn area. So hopefully that will be fully covered in time for the event.
It will be. We've tested it out. Thank you.
Okay.
Because and thank you so much for doing that. For JJ's Legacy, we do all online bidding.
Yes.
And this is our 6th year. So if anybody wanted to get on JJ's Legacy webpage, they could go to the online bidding and they would be able to see all of our silent auction packages and bid. So the Wi-Fi is so important.
Oh, yes.
So that, you can bid.
Yeah. And I've started checking out some of the auction items. Chris Wilson, he's the founder of Tiger Fight Foundation, which I'm on the board on. So he sent me over the link and said, JJ's Legacy, their auction items, they have some great items. Come take a look. So
well, good.
He sent me over the link.
And we're doing something really different this year too, is that we're not going to have any live auction items.
All silent. Okay.
We'll have silent online, but actually our program is going to be talking about what we do for JJ's Legacy and how we support the community in our 3 projects. But we're going to do a fund in need, because 100% of your fund in need goes to your projects.
Oh.
So we're this is our first year to try something new and different, and we hope that our audience there that night will support it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Our gala. Yeah.
And I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know, but do you happen to have memorized kind of the numbers of monies you've raised thus far and how much you've given to local families and
I know.
ballpark?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We service around anywhere from 40 to 50 families with our financial grants, and about 120 people that we feed, because we're limited on how many food boxes we can get.
Mm-hmm.
Our gas cards, a lot of gas cards, because that's for their workup. So they're not, when you're on the transportation, you haven't been registered as for a transplant. So we support those that have to go to LA to have all their medical workup done, which is like 6 times. They go back and forth. Just
to see if they can even get on the list.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we support that as well.
Okay.
And a lot of the same families we support year after year.
It's because some of it's a lifelong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, with our students, we've educated over 5,000 students since the inception of our Got the Dot Leadership Club.
Wow. And you go to every high school in town or a select few, or how does that?
We have gone to at least 15 of them.
Okay.
And right now, the last couple of years, since COVID,
mm-hmm.
we developed a club. So we have representatives from each high school that are part of our club, and it's an academic long year club from August to May. And they do a lot of great work. We work with the Kiwanis for Christmas shopping
mm-hmm.
for the low to middle income families. And then we also did a big, huge walkathon this year at Cal State Bakersfield. It was our 2nd year. All the high school students that are in the club, they organize it. We had over 300 students come, so it was really great. It was really a beautiful day at Cal State.
That's a good turnout.
It was, yeah. And all the students come. That's what's, 9:00 on Saturday morning.
I'm sure they'd rather be somewhere else than that, but they're showing up to do it. That's great.
Yeah, so it's good. So, so right now we are working since COVID, primarily with Kern Regional Occupational Center.
Okay.
Out at their C-Tech building.
C-Tech building, which is an amazing facility.
Incredible.
It's been, I would say, in the last year that I even knew that we had that. I didn't even know it was out there, but we had the principal on the podcast, and then we did a seminar out there with Safe One Credit Union as well, and I went out there and I was like,
Isn't it amazing?
How is this not talked about every day? This is an amazing facility we have here in our community.
It is. I mean, it's, every class that we're in out there, and then we educate. And what's really great about that is because the students want to be there, and we have the morning session and an afternoon session, and there's usually about 30 students in each session. And so we have a captive audience that we can really give them and educate. And then they create videos for us, 2 to 3 minute videos and PowerPoint presentations. And that's part of the leadership part. We feel like we just don't want to really go in and just teach them and then walk away. We want to give them something else, like leadership skills.
And empower them to kind of do something with it on their own.
Exactly. And now they're advocates for us.
That's great. I mean, what else could you ask for?
Because that's the age. Mm-hmm. That's the age where peer to peer, when you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and you have somebody that believes in it or has been affected by it, and then they can tell their friends and their friends tell their friends, and that's how it just grows, our registration.
And not to mention, these young people are going to be the ones who become young professionals in the community, and they're going to be supporters of the cause and maybe participate in the golf tournament or donate stuff for the auction. Mm-hmm. Just to have that, it's a great idea.
You got to get those young kids.
Yeah.
Because they're so brilliant. I mean, they're superstars.
Yeah.
All of them. One way or another, we just finished an internship with C-Tech in the Walter Souza's class, and he's marketing and graphic design. Mm-hmm. And so we had 5 students for this past semester.
That's great.
And it's great. I love to learn from them.
Yeah, my daughter went out there. She goes on Wednesdays from 5 to 8:30. It's like a business and entrepreneurial type kind of seminar class that they're kind of teaching kids what it is to be an entrepreneur, which is not something that you really learn in high school.
No.
And so I thought that was a great opportunity for her to learn and experience that, and maybe one day she wants to go into business for herself. But just know that it's out there.
It is, and and it's what's great. The students, if they don't know what they want to do, and they say, "Oh, there's a video class, or there's marketing, or there's dental hygienist, or robots." Did you go see the robots they have out there?
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Engineering, I think, nursing, medical, yeah.
Yeah, and so you could do that for a semester and say, "Okay, I do want to do this, or I don't want to do this," and you can learn skills.
And that's so important because everyone watches the news, what's going on with student loan debt crisis that we have, and it just kind of became something that well, you have to go to college and you have to take out loans and you have to do this, and it's like, well, yeah, but do you, or is there another path that you want to go down that you can make a living and provide for your family on? Or if you do want to go to college, maybe make it more narrowly tailored by doing some of these things earlier, so you have an idea of what you want to do instead of going around partying for 2 years and then decide that you don't want to be there.
Right, you're in debt from not going to class.
Yeah, and so I can't speak highly enough for that, what we have going on out there.
And that's incredible. I mean, there's over 25 vocational classes out there.
That's amazing.
And the bank, the Valley Strong Bank, is all ran by the students.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things we always talked about. I remember in high school, or looking back in high school, they didn't, you didn't learn how to write a check or balance a budget or bank statements, and just life skills that, for some reason aren't taught in a traditional high school setting, are kind of being implemented and fostered out there.
It is. So the Kern Regional Occupational Center, the principal, they're just so gracious to us.
Brian Miller, is that?
Brian Miller,
yeah.
And they open their arms. They love us out. Well, they love us to be out there.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really great. It's a great partnership.
Well, I'm looking forward to going to the gala and interviewing a few of the guests and sponsors and out there, and kind of adding this to our conversation today to put that out for our community to listen to. And if anyone wants to, it may be too late, obviously, this year, when, as we're hearing this, we're going to be done with the golf tournament and the gala. But, moving forward with the next years, or maybe more volunteers or donations, what do you point people to get more information? Do you have a website, social media?
We do. We have a website, jjslegacy.org. We're Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So I think we have most of all the social medias.
Covered.
Yeah, covered. Yeah.
Well, Lori, thank you again so much for coming in, and I look forward to seeing what this event looks like.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
You're very welcome.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
All right, the podcast is on site today at JJ's Legacy Gala at Stockdale Country Club. I'm sitting here with John Duffield, and we have the MC of the event, Robert McDonald, joining us for a little sit-down. Robert, this is your second year doing it, I understand. Is that correct?
That is correct. I've been able to somehow swoon them into allowing me back for a second year.
Tell us a little about the event. This is my first time being here, first time seeing it. Kind of give us a background about what the event does, what it raises money for.
Yeah, so this is all for JJ's Legacy's fund needs. So what this gala actually does, it's a 2-day event. We do a golf tournament on a Friday, then we do the gala on the Saturday night, and the intention is to raise as much funds as we possibly can to give back to those who are either about to go through organ transplant themselves, receiving a donation, those families who have lost a loved one and mourning through that, and also the care that comes after receiving a transplant. So we've been able this past year to give out dozens and dozens of gas cards to get people to their doctor's offices and their appointments. We've also been able to provide the care, love, and nurturing that a family needs to mourn those who they have lost, and then also spread awareness, which is really the foundation of JJ's, which is getting that pink dot on their license.
Yeah, I saw that there was probably 8 or 10 people that you guys are going to honor tonight through that process. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we have recipients here with us this evening, and these are people who have received an organ transplant. And so we get to honor them, celebrate the life that they're able to continue living because someone was brave enough to say, you know what, if God forbid I were to pass, allow my good organs to be passed on to somebody else.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. You know, I mean, we take it for granted, but there's that need. And thank goodness for Lori and JJ's Legacy for making that awareness out there.
Yeah, one of the things you said about awareness when we interviewed her in the office, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, she was telling us that they go to various high schools and starting educating at a young age so that people are, they lose their misconceptions and just kind of get awareness of what organ donation is and what it involves, like you said, to get that organ donation sticker on their license.
It needs to be front of mind, right? It's one of those things that, living the life that we do every day, we just don't really think about it.
Correct. And that's the Got the Dot program. And I've been so happy with the way that this program has been, birthed or crawl, walk, or now they're running. And they're going into high schools. They're taking away all of the misconceptions. Some people think, you can't go to heaven if you give an organ donation. And like the religions don't say that. Or like, will they just pull me off life support if I just get into a car accident and I could live? And it's like, no, they don't do that either. And so to see these kids come together, understand it, and then push that message out, plus all the leadership attributes that come along with the Got the Dot program, it's super exciting to see the KHSD come alongside us.
Absolutely.
So tonight, fundraiser, auctions. Tell us a little about how money is raised this evening for the nonprofit.
Yeah, so in years past, it's actually been a full, traditional nonprofit gala where you have, the auctions and you go, for $5,000, $6,000, boom, 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 boom. But this year, we're really getting down to the brass tacks. Instead of us having to pay taxes, as, John knows very well, on all of the things that we raffle off, we're actually going straight to the point in funding a need. So we're asking our guests tonight, because you know the vision, because you know the heart, and because you know the stewardship that, we have here at JJ's Legacy, will you fund the need? Will you fund for gas cards, the recipient transplant, care that needs to be done, and our Got the Dot programs? Like, we have lots of big goals, and tonight is not so much about what you can receive, but how you can actually get an ROI in the community by spreading the awareness and the message.
Sure.
That's an interesting approach to take.
Absolutely different approach than we traditionally see, right?
100%. And then on top of that, you have the experience of the gala. We really want tonight to be an experience where people come in, they're immersed in this atmosphere, they're having a good time. The golf tournament the day before. I mean, who doesn't love to get a couple shanks, as I would honestly say that I do. Right. So some shanks out there on the par, but it is what it is, and we have the silent auction going as well. But this is the direction that I think that a lot of big city nonprofits are going in. Instead of having to provide quid pro quo, I'll give you this, you give me that. We're going, hey, if you truly believe in this, which most of our people here tonight do, why are we going to just waste some of the money to spend on taxes and purchasing these things when we can ask for less money and get a bigger ROI?
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's a beautiful, Stockdale's done a great job. They're out in the South Lawn today. It's Beautiful setup.
Looks fantastic. Everybody's dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
Oh, I've already got my sweat towels because we picked the hot day right now. It's the hottest day so far this month.
Well, you look fantastic, by the way. So you dress up well.
Yeah, and I think I saw Colleen Bauer out there. She fairy godmother's there. I think they're
what a gangster.
Yeah,
she's the best.
Yeah.
Her whole crew is who really facilitates the nitty gritty stuff here.
Yeah.
And so we absolutely love the fairy godmothers.
Awesome. Well, Robert, thanks for taking a minute and talking with us.
My pleasure.
Hopefully we'll get this out to the community. And as this airs, obviously this will be a done event. But for next year and for people who want to get involved, this is some good information.
Yeah, looks like fun. We need to play along next year.
Absolutely.
Right. We'll get a team going. Thank you, guys.
See you. All right, we're sitting down with our second guest here at our remote podcast, JJ's Legacy. And we're sitting here with Charles Pruitt. And Charles, thanks for sitting down with us. And tell us a little bit about your story and how you got involved with JJ's Legacy and why it's important and why you're here and whatever you'd like to tell us.
Well, I'm here because in 2016, actually August 16th, 2014, I'm sorry, get my numbers confused, I received the liver of a 19-year-old young man who succumbed to injuries he received in a motorcycle accident. I had been told in May of 2013, almost 10 years ago now, that I had about 1 year left to live, that my liver was in complete failure, and that's about how long it would take for it to end my life.
Well,
I just kind of ignored that and kept on working. I was working 10, 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week in consulting engineering, going on long road trips to job sites and staying, for several days at a time, then coming back home to Bakersfield for the weekends. And I continued that as long as I could, which was about 6 months. Never told anybody what the prognosis the doctor had given me, and just kind of went on with life. And around the holidays in 2013, everything just kind of fell apart for me. My health just completely tanked. I just became so sick I could hardly get out of bed at all, and sleep a lot. And then starting in January, I was hospitalized 6 times between January and July here in Bakersfield for the different things that happen when your liver is basically ending your life. My right lung collapsed twice from the fluid building up in my chest cavity. I had a pulmonary embolism in my left lung. I had numerous procedures to try to put off, what was happening to me that made other things worse. And then finally in July, everything just really came to a crisis. About July 14th, I was hospitalized here for the last time. I was at the heart hospital, and my condition was not improving. They couldn't stabilize me. Had gotten to the point where I was so unsteady on my feet, I could not get out of bed without falling down, unless somebody, my wife, usually was holding me up. Then toward the end of that, about 2 weeks after being there in the heart hospital, the doctors that were treating me took my wife into a private room and had the consultation with her where they were starting to lay out end-of-life options for me. What they told her was that she should take me home and get palliative care for me from a hospice organization, that I only had a matter of a few days or at most a week or two left, and just keep me comfortable for as long as she could. And she was not accepting that. The gastrointestinal doctor that had been treating me mentioned that he would something about seeing about having me reevaluated for a transplant at Cedars-Sinai, where he had done his residency. So my wife was very adamant about making that happen. And a bunch of phone calls, I guess, that afternoon. I was really, really out of it, didn't have any idea any of this was going on. And the next day I got a really fast ambulance ride from Bakersfield to LA that I found out later was supposed to be a helicopter but because of
Weather conditions?
weather or something or availability, that didn't happen. So checked into Cedars-Sinai at the end of July, got evaluated, all the things that they normally would take weeks or months to do to evaluate you, give you time to recover from each test. And they're very, very invasive tests, like a angiogram, to check out my heart, both an endoscope and a colonoscopy pretty much at the same time, checking out the digestive tract, looking for anything that would rule out me being a viable candidate for a transplant. They found nothing. Everything else about me was very healthy for my age and the condition of my liver and all. It was just that my liver was killing me. So they listed me and became what is known as in liver disease. When you reach the end of your road, they base your eligibility for a transplant on what's called the MELD score, which is Model for End-Stage Liver Disease. And the numbers for that range from between single digits, say like 5 to 40 or above. And the higher your number is, the more in need of a transplant you are. Well, after they evaluated me, they determined that my MELD score was 40, which put me at number 1A on the list for my blood type for a transplant. At that point, it was a matter of waiting, and everything that was going on had made my condition worsen so much that I became completely non-responsive while the doctors were examining me one afternoon. Immediately was rushed to the transplant ICU, where measures were taken to preserve my life until a liver could be found that was suitable for me, which took probably about 10 days for that to happen. In that time, I was in a medically induced coma on a ventilator, on dialysis, and receiving as much fluid, blood, plasma, and everything as they could pump into me at a time. Altogether, after I was home and got the itemized bill from the hospital, I counted 176 units of blood, plasma, and platelets that I had been infused with in that brief period of time. Well, on August 16th at about 4 a.m., the transplant doctor comes in and tells my wife, who had stayed by my side this whole time, that they had an organ and that they were taking me to surgery, and it would be about 12 hours before I'd be back in my room. So they packaged me up, whisked me off, and she tells the story she told me was that about 10:30 she's sitting there and she looks up and sees the doctor walking toward her, and she just got the most sickening feeling. Her heart just said she just stopped beating, and she just knew that because it was so soon that that the operation had not been a success. Well, the doctor told her that my organ was so compromised that it practically fell out of my body when they opened me up, and it was a matter of just putting the new one in and putting everything back together and closing and all, and that I was in recovery and it was going to take some time to stabilize me before I'd be back in the room. And so then after that, I was still unconscious, still in the coma, and it took about 2 days before they weaned me off the medication to let me come back to consciousness, and I found out about everything. Finding out the age of my donor was really difficult for me because 19 was a significant year in my life. That was the year that I entered at the Army. I was received my draft notice. I was 1A, for those of you who remember the draft. And so I knew that I was going to serve one way or the other. So I enlisted in the Army so I'd have a little control over just what I was going to be doing. That went through that, got married right out of basic training. 19 basically was the start of my life as an adult. And this young man was never going to have any of those experiences, never get married, never have kids, never, a long career and grow old like I had done and have grandkids and everything. And here I was, an old man. I was 61 at that time. I'd done all this stuff. I'd lived my life, for better or worse. I'd had my life's experiences and had made peace with it and was ready to go. And this young guy, was never going to have the chance for any of that. And to me, it still is really difficult for me emotionally sometimes to think about that, all the things he could have done or could have had in his life. So I started setting little goals then, can I just survive these first few days, this week, just live to see the start of the football season in September, come back to Bakersfield and all. And when I left the hospital, I had thought about it and all, and I wanted to set a goal that I thought was going to be really a long term to reach, and that was to survive for 1,000 days. Transplant is considered successful by the transplant community if the recipient survives for a year after the transplant.
Wow.
So that 1,000 days seemed like a pretty good stretch. Well, I achieved that in March of 2017. My wife and I were treated to a trip to Disneyland by our families, and it was a really great time. A couple of old people down there acting like kids and everything. And so I reached that point, and I thought, well, I want to set a goal that's really out there, that it'll take me, forever, a long, long time to achieve, and something to really strive for. I'm half Cherokee. My great-grandfather, full blood obviously, lived to be 107 that we know of. Anyway, he was lived to be 107. And I got to thinking about it, and it felt so great and everything. Physically, I'm in probably the best shape I've been in since my 20s or my 30s. And I decided that my long-term survival goal is I am going to outlive my great-grandfather. My goal is to live to be 110.
Wow.
It's been 9 years, 8 months, and about 5 days since my transplant. This is day 3,170 since then. And I really relish every minute. When I wake up in the morning, my first thought is a thank you and a prayer for my donor and for my donor's family.
Absolutely.
And I'm just so grateful for every day, every breath I have, every minute that I'm here. My time now is focused really on spreading the word of the need for donors, signing people up to be donors on the registry, just, spreading the word about how, important being a donor is. A lot of people say, oh, they wouldn't want any of my stuff. I've, really got all these illnesses or conditions and things. They're never going to want anything from me, or I'm too old to be a donor. Well, there was a 92-year-old gentleman just recently that was an organ donor. Nobody is too old. You should let the medical professionals make that decision. Even if your organs are not viable, your tissue could still enhance someone's life. Your cornea could help somebody see again that has been blind. There's so much that even, if your organs are not usable, you can be a factor in somebody's survival. Now, I've found out since the transplant, I've communicated a little bit with my donor family.
I was just going to ask you about that.
This is my donor's picture right here. His name was Brian. He was 19 years old. He was their middle child, their middle boy. They had 3 sons. And he was just getting started in his life. He had his first real serious job, his first serious girlfriend. And his family, his mother said that he was the peacemaker. And the thing that affected me the most in that letter, and it still really makes me emotional thinking about it, was that Brian was not a registered donor. And that most horrible time of their lives, when he was there in in that hospital bed with hooked up to all those machines and laying there. And his parents were approached by One Legacy, the organ procurement organization here in Southern California, about whether or not they would consider donating his organs and tissue. Because they said yes, I'm here to talk to you guys.
Wow.
And 3 other people received organs. He was able to donate his heart, his kidneys, and his liver.
Wow.
And I hope every day, along with my prayer and my thoughts of gratitude, I also wonder if the other recipients are doing anywhere near as well as I'm doing, because it's just a miracle and amazing the change that organ made in my life.
Yeah, sitting here listening to you, I'm getting emotional listening to you, so I can imagine that experience that you've had. And praise God for your wife, who was pushy and insistent, and that gastroenterologist, right? That had those ideas, and then that team, obviously, at Cedars-Sinai, that whole thing, right? And that whole experience.
Right.
So, praise God. And you have to challenge yourself to kind of keep pushing yourself to go on to, live a long, fruitful life to honor Brian.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I'd like to just add a little word about my wife. We were together for 42 years, married for 40. And as I said, she was there by my side this whole time, taking care of me, advocating for me with the medical teams, signing the waiver slips, for all the procedures that I had, because I was in no condition at all to give approvals to any of those things. I couldn't even hold a pen to sign my name. My condition was so bad. And she could have stopped signing these forms at any time and been a well-off widow. I had a whole ton of life insurance because I knew that, this is what my end was going to be. So I was making sure she was going to be well taken care of. And she sacrificed her health to do that, because 5 years after my transplant, she was diagnosed with advanced metastatic ovarian cancer and succumbed to that 21 days after we received that diagnosis. I was selected in 2019 to be a rider on the Donate Life float in the Rose Parade that year, and had started the activities, the class picture, and all the introduction and everything at Tournament House in Pasadena. And then a few days after that, she was diagnosed. And when we received that diagnosis, there was no way I could have gone through with that at that time, because my only thought was to be there for her, in any way I could, the way she was there for me.
Right.
And she was at Kern Medical for her brief stay in the hospital, and the staff there had to kick me out every night, so that they could do their rounds and take care of the patients and everything. But I stayed by her side every minute that I could. And even in hospice, at the end, it was the two of us together.
The story, the loss and learning and the life experience that you have,
incredible journey.
It's one that you don't want to wish on anyone, but the perspective that you must have because of it is enviable.
Thank you.
Yeah, God bless you, and thank you for taking the time to share your story. I know it must be difficult. And before I let you go enjoy your wonderful evening here, I do want to ask, how did you get involved with JJ's Legacy in particular, and what, if anything, do you do with them?
Well, I had been kind of aware of them. After my transplant, I had known some friends, now my transplant friends and all, that had been involved with JJ's and had received help from them, assistance both financially and with nutritional supplements and all, and was introduced to Lori through one of them, and had just started volunteering with One Legacy as an ambassador, where I could speak to hospital groups and events like this and all to share my story and to maybe encourage someone to become a donor. Well, that is a regional organization. JJ's Legacy is a local organization. I really like that aspect of it, so I started finding ways that I could get involved with JJ's Legacy also, and have been volunteering with them and doing anything I can to help spread the word around here locally for about 5 years now. And I'm kind of pretty good friends with Lori on these things, and I'll always enjoy her. She's such a very energetic and always upbeat and positive person, and it's just very pleasant to be around with her.
It is, and her story is tragic as well.
Yes, it is.
And but hearing her commitment to this and how she kind of poured her life into it is just again one of those kind of cool things about Bakersfield and our local community, especially with nonprofits. We tend to rally around each other, and it's a very special thing we have going.
And coincidentally, when the oncologist that was treating my wife at Kern Medical, when the time came for him to talk to me about my wife's condition and what was going on with her, this conversation happened in the comfort room that JJ's Legacy built at Kern Medical and furnished there at Kern Medical. And that wasn't lost on me when I was sitting in there.
Yeah, I older I get, the less and less I think of things as coincidentally. There's signs everywhere if you're open to receiving them. So
right, yeah.
Well, it was a absolute honor and pleasure to meet you. Thank you for sharing a piece of your soul with us, and have a great and wonderful evening, and spread the word as much as you can.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all you guys are doing here, and it's just my honor and my privilege to be here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know what else to say other than wow.
Yeah, hearing his story, I mean, my mind is just kind of buzzing right now. I'm just trying to think of my family pops in my mind.
Absolutely.
It's just
you want to go hug those you love, right?
It's just in the last couple days there's been 2 traffic accidents of people getting killed near our house, which has been a very weird thing. And why I'm bringing that up, I don't know. But I'm just thinking, I wonder if any of them were organ donors. I wonder if there was anyone that it just is making my mind go places that I would never have thought to let it go.
Sure. Well, I like probably too many of us take everything for granted, right? You just expect everything to fall in line perfectly, right, and our bodies to function perfectly and life to just be perfect. But the reality of it is that it isn't. And it was incredible me listening to him. I was getting very, very emotional listening to him, and then thinking about his donor, Ryan, right?
And their family.
Right, absolutely, their family and the emotion that they're going through. And then even him losing his own wife, right, after she had, fought so hard for him. Just wow.
Didn't take no for an answer. And that, I mean, I'm convinced after hearing the story, I wasn't there, but I'm sure she saved his life, because in the work that I do, that if you don't have a patient advocate in our medical system, it's very easy to get kind of tossed by the wayside. So without even having met her or been in their situation, I'm convinced that her advocacy for her husband got him to where he was.
Absolutely.
And it's just amazing. So
yeah, he was blessed in the sense of a few people in his life, right?
I know.
That gastroenterologist, that people being insistent,
yes,
about that advocate.
And his wife and the donor and everything coming together. I encourage, this episode has kind of been spliced together. We just to kind of summarize, we interviewed Lori, the founder of JJ's Legacy, in our office to get a little background on her story and on the legacy or the foundation itself. And then we spoke to Robert McDonald, who was the MC of the event tonight, right, and was also the MC of the event last year. Gave us a little more of the kind of day-to-day practical stuff that it's doing and what this is raising money for and how. And then kind of got blown away by
Charles.
Yeah, by Charles's story. And so I encourage you to listen to the whole thing. Each part is its own element, but definitely stay tuned for Charles's testimony, because it definitely gives you something to think about.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey.
It is.
Incredible journey.
Yeah. John, thanks for taking the time Saturday to join me out here, and hopefully this will give some opportunity for our listeners to take in what JJ's legacy does and get involved, spread the word, or do whatever they feel moved to do.
Absolutely. There's a lot to think about and absorb through that, so that you definitely will be moved.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
This show has been brought to you by the Law Office of Kyle Jones, Troy Burton with the Lynn Company, CPA John Duffield, Scott Hansen Real Estate Lender, broker and investor, Dave Plivlich, President and CEO of the Marcom Group and MarcomBranding.com, and Amanda DiGiacomo, President of Atlas Financial Solutions. You've been listening to the Our 2 Cents podcast. Check out the show notes for links and more information about the show. Also visit our website at our2centspodcast.com or catch us on Instagram at Our 2 Cents Podcasts. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share with others.